Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, you guys, so clearly I'm not able to read this on my phone, but I'm going to cover child endangerment, failure to protect, and I'm going to focus on California A. Okay, this is California Penal Code. California Penal Code 273 Alpha, 2014. 273 Alpha, willful harm or injury to child. Endangering person or health. I guess that's a thing, you guys. Punishment, conditions of probation. A is an alpha. Any person who under circumstances or conditions likely to produce great bodily harm or death willfully causes or permits any child to suffer or inflicts thereon unjustifiable physical pain or mental suffering, or having the care or custody of any child, willfully causes or permits the person or health of that child to be injured, or willfully causes or permits that child to be placed in a situation where his or her person or health is endangered, shall be punished by imprisonment in a county jail not exceeding 1 year, or in the state prison for 2, 4, or 6 years. B as in Bravo. Any person who under circumstances or conditions other than those likely to produce great bodily harm or death willfully causes or permits any child to suffer or inflicts thereon unjustifiable physical pain or mental suffering, or having the care or custody of any child, willfully causes or permits the person or health of that child to be injured, or willfully causes or permits that child to be placed in a situation where his or her person or health may be endangered, is guilty of a misdemeanor. C as in Charlie. If a person is convicted of violating this section and probation is granted, the court shall require the following minimum conditions of probation. 1. A mandatory minimum period of probation of 48 months. 2. A criminal court protective order protecting the victim from further acts of violence or threats, and, if appropriate, residence exclusion or stay-away conditions. 3 Alpha. Successful completion of no less than 1 year of a child abuser's treatment counseling program, approved by the probation department. The defendant shall be ordered to begin participation in the program immediately upon the grant of probation. The counseling program shall meet the criteria specified in Section 273.1. The defendant shall produce documentation of program enrollment to the court within 30 days of enrollment, along with quarterly progress reports. B as in Bravo. The terms of probation for offenders shall not be lifted until all reasonable fees due to the counseling program have been paid in full, but in no case shall probation be extended beyond the term provided in subdivision A Alpha of Section 1203.1. If the court finds that the defendant does not have the ability to pay the fees based on the defendant's changed circumstances, the court may reduce or waive the fees. 4. If the offense was committed while the defendant was under the influence of drugs or alcohol, the defendant shall abstain from the use of drugs or alcohol during the period of probation and shall be subject to random drug testing by his or her probation officer. 5. The court may waive any of the above minimum conditions of probation upon a finding that the condition would not be in the best interests of justice. The court shall state on the record its reasons for any waiver. And then the rest are the credits. So just because inquiring MF minds want to know, do the condition formulas of Scientology that they apply to children cover or not limited to ethics handlings, the conditions formulas, as well as the RPF, State of California, Department of Homeland Security, Federal Bureau of Investigation. The conditions formulas. Here are the conditions in the formulas given in order of advanced upward. The condition of non-existence, new post formula. And always watch this, you guys. They never put child in here. Do you guys really think our L. Ron Hubbard wrote this all by himself? Come on. Every new appointee, including children, to a post begins in non-existence, whether obtained by new appointment, promotion, or demotion. So right here, they're showing you that children work. They're showing you that when a child gets punished, because you can go look it up, look at the ethics formulas, it's not hard. I was reading from that book, and I'll get there again. In my head, being labeled as non-existent or having non-existence as a child, to me that would indicate child neglect, child abuse, and child endangerment and or failure to protect. Clearly the LAPD don't get that one. He is normally under the delusion that now he is the blank. Like the auditor, like Serge Delmar was when he was like 12. Like, whom was I listening to the other day? Dylan Gill. He was on staff when he was like 12 or 13 or something like that. Yeah. He tries to start off in power condition, as he usually is very aware of his new status, or even a former status. But in actual fact, he is the only one aware of it. All others, except perhaps the personnel officer, are utterly unaware of him as having his new status. Therefore, he begins in a state of non-existence, as if he does not begin with the non-existence formula as his guide. He will be using the wrong condition and will have all kinds of trouble. By the way, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, Child Protective Services, Child Welfare, Missing and Exploited Children, RAIN. Where to begin? Just so you know, the declaration of calling a child non-existent is one form of punishment in Scientology. And, they didn't really do well in algebra and things like that. But to me, that deduces everything covered under child endangerment and failure to protect. Federal statutes. Non-existence formula. The non-existence formula is 1, find a communication line. 2, make yourself known, which clearly they don't do. 3, discover what is needed or wanted. Imagine telling a kid this. 4, do, produce, and or present it. And we already know, based on the big, fat, disgusting slob belly that L. Ron Hubbard had, he wasn't producing nothing. A new appointee taking over a going concern, I don't even like reading this, often thinks he had better make himself known by changing everything. Whereas he, A, is not well enough known to do so, and B, hasn't any idea of what is needed or wanted yet. And so he makes havoc. Stated from a drug-addicted, drug-induced psychosis, failed military loser who believes kissing a 7-year-old girl passionately on the lips is the greatest thing on earth. L. Ron Hubbard. Sometimes he assumes he knows what is needed or wanted, when it is only a fixed idea with him. It is only the idea and not true at all, and so he fails at his job. So, Department of Homeland Security, when a 5-year-old fails at his job and is deduced as non-existent in his ethics handling, wouldn't that cover child endangerment, child neglect, child abuse? Sometimes he doesn't bother to find out what is really needed or wanted, and simply assumes or thinks he knows when he doesn't. He soon becomes unsuccessful. Well, we all know L. Ron Hubbard would know about that, wouldn't he? All he was a charlatan. I mean, that's the basic main thing he was. Now and then a new appointee, like a child, is so status happy or so insecure or so shy that even when his boss or his staff, do you guys think it's an accident they never put child in their policies? Come on, you guys. Do you really think this was just L. Ron Hubbard? Come on. When his boss or his staff comes to him and tells him what is needed or wanted, he can't or doesn't even acknowledge and really goes into non-existence for keeps. This is a punishment status as well, but I'm just simply reading how L. Ron Hubbard, the maniac, describes the condition of non-existence. Sometimes he finds that what he is told is needed or wanted, needs reappraisal or further investigation. So it is always safest for him to make his own survey of it and operate on it when he gets his own firm reality on what is needed or wanted. So he's got to be a mind reader, because 5-year-olds need that, right? If the formula is applied intelligently, the person can expect to get into a zone of bypass where people are still doing his job to fill the hole his predecessor may have left, like a child. This is a danger condition, but it is the next one higher than non-existence on the scale. If he defends his job and does his job and applies the danger formula, he will come through it. He can then expect to find himself in emergency condition. In this, he must follow the emergency formula with his post, and he will come through it, like a child. He cannot expect to be in normal operation. I hate reading this. And if he follows the formula of that, he will come to affluence. And if he follows that formula, he will arrive at power. And if he applies the power formula, he will stay there. Guess it didn't work out for your son, though, huh, L. Ron Hubbard? Very questionable death. I personally, in my opinion, do not believe for 1 minute that Quentin Hubbard took himself out. I don't believe it. Wonder what Rinder knew about that. So it is a long way from power that one starts his new appointment, like a child. And if he doesn't go up the scale from where he really is at the start, he will, of course, fail. Of course, L. Ron Hubbard knew about that. This applies to groups, to organizations, to countries, as well as individuals. It also applies when a person fails at his job. He has to start again at non-existence, and he will build up the same way condition by condition. Does this construe child endangerment yet? Homeland Security or Federal Bureau of Investigation, Child Protective Services, when these condition formulas are applied to the children. Right now in 2025, not 1967, not 1976, right now in real time in Clearwater, Florida, in Los Angeles, California, in London, England, in Russia, in Africa, in Mexico, in all of these countries. Most failures on post are occasioned by failures to follow the conditions and recognize them, because you can't think for yourself. And apply the formula of the condition one is when one is in it and ceases to apply it when one is out of it and in another. Can you imagine people have to try to follow this crap? Especially the children. This is the secret of holding a post and being successful on a job or in life. You know what? I don't want to read this whole thing. I'm over it. I'm going to go to the next thing. Okay, straight from the drug-induced horse's mouth, Scientology newsroom. Look at this, FBI, Homeland Security, Child Protective Services, Department of Justice, Department of Education, missing and exploited children. What is the Rehabilitation Project Force? Let's just keep in mind, Homeland Security, that children are in this RPF, also known as a child prison. Yes, adults go into it too, which is also unlawful or otherwise known as illegal, but children are in the RPF right now, dressed in black clothing or dark blue. Or that could be the EPF, but just so you know, because you might need a little help, the children in the RPF are in the black clothing and or the dark navy blue clothing, and often have a symbol on their left arm. Yeah. Crazy, huh? The Rehabilitation Project Force is a religious program. It's a prison. Undertaken by a very small number of members, prisoners, like children, of the Church of Scientology. Neither staff members who work in local churches of Scientology around the world, nor the church's parishioners, would qualify to undertake this program. It's a prison camp. Propaganda at its finest. Only those who belong to the religious order, the order, like the orders that P. Diddy, like the orders that, what's his name, Jay-Z, and all these creep Satanist sickos are in. To the religious order of the Church of Scientology. The C organization may do the RPF, and then only for specific reasons. The purpose of the RPF is to provide a second chance. I'm not going to read the propaganda too much. I'm done. I'm going to go get a real definition. Okay, probably not the very best definition, but decent. This is from Wikipedia, Homeland Security, in case you didn't know what that was. The Rehabilitation Project Force, or RPF, is the Church of Scientology's program. This should also actually be called prison. For members of its C organization, like the children's Sea Org members that we see every single day in Clearwater, in Los Angeles, California, or perhaps the RPF children that they hide in the basements. Those ones who have allegedly violated expectations or policies, like children. I got to keep saying, because some people, they ain't getting it. This may include members who are deemed to have hidden evil intentions towards Scientology. Basically, anyone who asks a question that doesn't go along with the policy or L. Ron Hubbard's maniacal, idiotic, drug-induced stupors. Basically, everyone's suppressive. You should go check out Brave New World movie or a book if you got 2 days to read a book. Members, here's that member word again. You guys know what I think about that. I'm going to say, instead of members, since we're talking about children, I'm going to replace members with children, because in their drug-induced freaking stupor, mind-controlled idiocracy, they all believe that children are adults in small bodies. That's why they make them work the construction. That's why they make the children scrub the toilets in the Fort Harrison hotels and the other hotels in Los Angeles, as well as the UK, Denmark. Just go check out the book. What's it called again? Hotels of Darkness. Go check out that book. It's all about the child abuse in these hotels. Crazy. Children who are unproductive in their work or who produce poor quality work. Oh, see here we got an image. Child labor right there, child exploitation, child trafficking. Yes, it's an old image, but it's going on right now as we speak. As you're drinking your tea, as you're drinking your coffee, wherever you're at. The program, why do they want to call it a program? I'm going to call it a prison because that's what it is. The prison includes manual labor tasks and the study, indoctrination rather, of L. Ron Hubbard's works, allegedly. The rehabilitation program may take more than a year to complete. I've heard a lot of people were in there until like 5 years. A lot of the adults died in the RPF. Very mysterious. Because they were not allowed medical care or whatever it was that they needed. And the church has been accused of overworking and mistreating its children. You see, there's participants, otherwise known as children. Could try to hide it all they want. Nobody's going to frickin' buy that anymore. Scholars, journalists, and former Scientologists, like children, have characterized the RPF as a forced labor and reindoctrination program comparable to Soviet Gulag system. I'm not going to read this whole thing. Anyways, you guys get the drift. I'll put all the links in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night, wherever you are. Peace.